What's up, everyone? We're back. This is Stay Out of My Fridge. The voice you're hearing is me. It's Matt. It's Beard Laws. You're probably thinking there's only two of us, but we're full back squad. I was going to say we're fully back, and then my brain would say don't say hard or anything inappropriate. But the voice you're hearing is me. It's Matt. It's Beard Laws. Joining me as always, Brandon J McDermott and Yuban Whakinov. Fellas, it's been a hot minute.
Bro, it has been, last week was the longest week, I feel like, it was Wednesday, dude. And I'm like, it feels like Sunday. Like, that's how long the week was. It was awful. And part of it was the cold weather we've been experiencing. So that's cleared now. We're up to even more temperate temperatures than should be experiencing this time of year, but it's going to be here.
Hell yeah.
Honestly, you could say the fridge is restocked.
Ooh.
We are replenished. And with the weather being nice, we were just talking about behind stage. My boss is not even going to show up next week, so I might golf like every single day. You guys are kind of like, by the next episode, you're like, hey, why are you in a sling and a knee brace? And I'm like, I went all in. Like I did it all besides work.
And you're tanned.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have my sunburn just peeling and everything. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. This is a vacation that I don't have to burn. Like, this is going to be so.
And if anybody knows burning, it's Yuban. Well, you're saying golfing. Will there actually be golf courses open, though?
Oh, yeah. They take advantage. So I'm assuming by that we're filming on a Sunday. So Monday and Tuesday, probably not, because it's going to be extremely muddy because there's still snow, just a little bit snow still here. But I would say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you pay? Do you go out and when you're like, I'm gonna go golf? And the only reason I'm asking is because we can really only golf from like maybe the end of May to maybe like August, end of August, maybe September. Not a good place to own a golf course, but there are a couple. Like, what's the going rate? Like, are you a 9-holer, an 18-holer?
So I usually do. There is a 9-hole course if I'm feeling pretty cheap. But I actually work out. I'm very. I like to do a lot of. I do what is it called? Barter system. So I utilize my workplace's rooms. So I always go to people. I'm like, hey, you guys want some free hotel rooms? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, can I get some of your stuff for free? And they're like, absolutely. Let's do some tradesies. So there's a golf course that I get a free membership to now because they like 3 hotel room nights a year, and it works out really well for me.
Wow, that is brilliant. I need to get in your biz. I feel,
dude. I feel like working at a golf course where you live, Matt, is probably one of the easiest jobs in the world part of the year, and one of the toughest jobs in the world other part of the year.
Yeah, because right out the gate, I mean, and this is me never working on a golf course, but having to not only do all the frost repair, but then have to make sure that your sprinkler systems, if you have a sprinkler system, didn't freeze. Like, and then when you have to winterize a course, like it's a lot of work and a quick thing. And then unfortunately, you have all these people that organize tournaments and everything. Ooh, they might be a little too early in the year. So, I mean, you're having an entire tournament with, say, 20 teams, and then they all got to stay in the cart paths, and it's just muddy. It's raining. It's not great.
Yeah,
but there is some good courses, though. Then one of them is kind of near the filtration plant in the said town. So the grass is always a little bit greener on this course, but to all those people that take their teas and chew on them during a round, I wouldn't recommend doing it there because you probably have some kind of human shit in the fertilization, I would imagine. But some people eat ass. They're into it. I don't know.
I get picked on because I actually keep a tea in my mouth the entire time because I used to smoke cigarettes, and I would be like John Daly, just lighting them up one after another on the course. So to replace it, I just keep a tea in there, and they're like, get that tea out of your mouth. And I always get the jokes like, look at him, can't go a day without wood in his mouth. And I'm like, I hate everybody, but you know what? If this is going to keep me from lighting up a stogie, so be it. And then, I bring my Penn Griffey Jr. with me, we hit it out of the park when we're out there. So
is there an actual brand or a flavor that is Penn Griffey Jr.? Because there needs to be. Spell it different. Maybe go with the Reds. Not as popular as Seattle. Maybe, you know what I mean. He wasn't as good in Cincinnati, but nothing is.
Touche. Ohio. They're up there with Philly, but I mean, so I used to call it the Benjamin Franklin. Certainly there's got to be something like that in there as well, but I don't know. There's got to be.
See, I'm a cigar guy. I love cigars. I know Brandon is a cigar guy, but I would probably smoke a cigar a couple of times a week, if not more. But one, it's super friggin' cold out, so I don't really have a good place. We don't have cigar bars around here, and I don't know. I don't overly love smoking in front of the kids, so I just don't want them sitting out there and be like, "Oh, you smoking those cigars again?" Which when we grew up, it was normal. People were smoking cigarettes. People were smoking cigars. It was just a common practice. I mean, a lot of people even have like cigar smoke in certain scents of products, like beard oils and stuff for a while. But I don't know, just now, especially now that they're getting older, I just don't want them to pick up the habit because they'll probably do the vaping, and that vaping shit is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys ever just ride in a vehicle with just people just smoking? Like, I mean, I remember being 8 or 9, probably even younger, but just sit in the back and you would have, 2 uncles out there just hot boxing the car, smoking, ashing in the little ashtray compartment of the vehicle. And now
popping out the lighters with the coils.
Yeah. And now honestly, I think one of the dumbest inventions that we ever had was the automatic headlights, because people don't know when they're actually on anymore. And remember how you would turn on your headlights and your dash lights would come on. That's how you knew also your lights were on. Bring that shit back. What are we doing? Huh.
Well, if they had them like
old.
that, where you had to do more manual and less computers, one, they can't mark up the price of things with the computers, and two, they can't control your car when they need to. I remember too, back in the day, going into like the bowling alley near me, and as soon as you open the door, smoke poured out of the building because everybody in there was smoking at the lanes, smoking in the bar, smoking in the boys' room. There was smoke everywhere. Legit, open the door and it was just, and you had to almost plan what outfit you wanted to wear that you didn't want to wear probably ever again because it was just going to smell like cigarette smoke.
Our local bar just banned smoking January 1st this year. So I was every time that I would go throw in my local dart league, I would have a specific shirt that I would keep in the garage just because I'd have to wash it twice just to get rid of the cigarette smell. And I'm like, man, I used to smell like this all the time. No offense to you smokers, but there's a smell and you know it. It's woo! My fingertips, now it just smells like weed and smegma. Just whenever I'm scratching my balls.
I remember my uncle's smells of his fingers. Why? Because they were inside. No, but they always smelled like balls and cigarettes, bro. And I'm just like, dude, like, go take a shower.
That's when men were men.
Yeah.
In New York, they banned it July 24th, 2003 is when they banned smoking in restaurants and bars, and they called it the New York State Clean Indoor Act, the CIAA, the Canadian version of the CIA. So 22 years, almost 22 years, it'll be 22 years this summer that you haven't been able to in New York smoke in a bar or restaurant.
That's wild. I think it's about the same in Nebraska. I think it's less than 20 years. I think it was like 2005 or 6. Somewhere around the mid 2000s is when it happened. But wild to me how public sentiment really turned in the late 90s to early 2000s on public smoking. And I mean, you remember like, this is the smoking section. This is not, non-smoking. Like how you could still smell it. It was just, I don't know. But I too, Yuban, remember the rides in the car with the windows rolled up, hotboxing cigarettes, and how it would if you could stay below a certain level, you still smell cigarettes, but you wouldn't be in the smoke, so to speak, because the smoke
You're not getting that little buzz.
Just disgusting. Just gross.
So according to Google, there's 10 states that don't have a statewide ban that doesn't allow smoking in restaurants or bars. I feel like we could guess this out. By we, you guys, because I'm looking at the answers.
In the South?
There's There's some South, yes.
Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas.
Alabama is definitely number one. Mississippi is definitely on there as well. Yep.
Louisiana.
Louisiana is not on there.
Arkansas.
Arkansas, yep.
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Kentucky, yep.
South Carolina.
Yep, South Carolina.
Oklahoma, Texas.
Tejas, yep.
Oklahoma, no.
Florida.
Oklahoma is not on there, nope.
Yeah, Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas.
Georgia, yep. No, Florida, I would have bet probably at least $25 that they were on there. They're not on there. There's only 2 left that you haven't got, and they both have the same name.
Virginia, West Virginia.
Virginia and West Virginia.
Wow.
A lot of them do allow local governments to kind of say, hey, if you want to do it in your own area, you can, but the state has not banned it. Yeah, so I would imagine Texas, they're like, you ain't taking my guns and you ain't taking my ability to smoke in this bar. Y'all.
I know, so my local one was, like I said, this year, but 10 years ago, it was the bigger area, but
yeah, it says technically Missouri does allow it, but it's up to the local as well. But maybe that was just potential recent changes.
I think it goes by county because they all have like a different, like I know that same county that allows you to smoke in the bar doesn't allow you to sell liquor unless you sell so much food.
Gotcha.
Weird.
This doesn't have to do with smoking in a bar or restaurant, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I don't think you guys have maybe heard this, but this is a huge, huge deal in the state of New York, and at least, especially where we are. But the correction officers are like battling hard right now in like a ton of New York jails for the fact that inmates are pretty much like taking over jails almost like on a daily basis. And it's to the point where like these correction officers, they're not safe at all. A lot of them aren't even showing up. They're not going to work, rightfully so. And they are just going after the governor, something fierce. Because they put in this new like HALT Act, which I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think more or less it's you can't be so hard on inmates. You can't lock them up for so long. Like they have to have the ability to be out and about and all that. I don't know exactly. That's just my brief understanding. But I mean, the jail that's local to me, just sometime last week, they had reports that there was a takeover. They had to send in these CERT teams. They had to do perimeters. They were fairly close to, from what I understand, getting out. And then next thing you know, this jail 45 minutes away, then this jail an hour and a half away. It's like all these inmates have tablets. They have technology now. They're able to talk, communicate. And a lot of these like gangs or whatever are running the prisons. It's been a nightmare, man. And having family and friends and people that are COs right now, I would not want to do that job. And I know you got some family that's in the same biz too.
Yeah, it's just his is federally owned or whatever. It's like a federal prison, but it's I know that they're mandating how many hours he has to work, and it's just like mandatory 6 days, 12-hour shifts, and still he's crazy. He even picks up overtime too, because sometimes they have mandatory overtime, but that guy is always working. But I just know they're short staffed. Luckily they haven't tried to overtake or anything like that. But it's just wild. And it's crazy to think about all these people that I'm not for just being inhumane and not allowing them to ever see the light of day or anything like that. But some of the funding that we're doing for that, but we can't give free lunches or whatever. That's just weird.
A lot of these inmate or the correction officers are being like stuck and they're so short and this and that. Like there's people that are going like having to do multiple 24-hour shifts. And I mean, it's gotten to the point too where like the civilians, they're not safe. They're not showing up. You have people that like truck drivers and stuff that are delivering food and supplies and stuff. They're not showing up. So all of these, correction officers and all this stuff started striking. And then, the governor is like, hey, this is against the union. This is against this. If you strike, you can be terminated and you're not going to get paid. And these guys are continually striking, going unpaid. And it's like, man, it's a nightmare. And where we live, it's a pretty small place. There's not a lot of jobs. The correction officers, not only do they make good money, It's one of the probably, if not the highest, employment area. And let's be honest, and this isn't a knock to any CO. I mean, you don't have to have an education. You go through, in my opinion, an unneeded boot camp to go through it. But as long as you're 21 and make it through the boot camp, you got yourself a job, and it's a pretty good paying job and a decent career if you want to spend 25 years in jail. It just,
I mean,
I don't,
I couldn't do it.
no chance.
I see the hours. I see the risk. It's kudos to them. It's just one of those jobs where you're thankful you don't have to do it, and I don't know. I think it's a very thankless job as well.
Yeah, no chance in me. I've always said, at least in the state of New York, and I know we've talked a little bit about it, and the prisons and stuff are much different in other states. I always said just have one big old jail, multiple blocks or whatever they call them, and just have that shit automated. You know what I mean? Have a couple of people. I mean, it's 2025 with AI talk. You're telling me we can't get a hold of AI and say, hey, you're now running this prison. When they need to go out and, let them out, boop, open them up. When you need this, boop. I have to imagine. I mean, we have doors. We've had doors for, 20 years that open by themselves when you go there motion activated. Pretty sure we could go in there and create some kind of big prison. And would things get bad at times? Yeah, but it'd work itself out eventually, I feel. Maybe not.
I don't know. Sylvester Stallone, if every time he gets locked up in like a prison, he finds a way to escape. So I feel like that's the next movie of his. Is there like an AI generated prison?
They just have this takeover. My little brother has to go into work, and I'm like, obviously nervous. I'm like, so I'm like, man, maybe I should watch Prison Break again, just in case I got to go in there and help. And the wife likes to throw on the TV before bed, so she's just like, I don't know, I don't feel like there's nothing we're really watching. She should Netflix, boop boop, just okay. Doesn't it throw up a show about like a 1990 or 1991 prison takeover in Ohio? And it was intense. They captured 8 inmates, or the inmates captured, I think, 8 correction officers. They like instantly killed like 8 or 9 other inmates, from snitches to this and that. And it was like, I want to say multiple weeks, just takeover. And there was like hostage negotiations and all this stuff. It was absolutely unbelievable. My favorite part of it all was the inmates had the full script that they were doing for hostage negotiations. They had the copy of it in the block that they were there. So they knew exactly what they were trying to do to them. And these were some smart people that kind of stepped up and was like, hey, I'm stepping in. This is what we're going to do. They broke, by gang or by whatever in prison you affiliate, whether, you're this religion or this skin color, whatever. They broke it up and said, all right, you guys go there, you guys go there. So there's no more fight. We got to have peace. And even the cops and the lawyers and everything were like, man, if all of these guys, these like higher ups would have just chose a different life path, like their lives would have been not like, they are some of the most intelligent people I've ever talked with, but they just use that smarts to do some bad shit.
Which, if I was smart enough, I would probably do the same. I would probably use my powers for evil as well. I'm not a good person. I would do the same.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's
you
a
mentioned
wild
Prison
thing.
Break as well. And what did you think of that series? Because that is top tier for me. Love that show.
Prison Break?
Yeah.
It's a special talent to be able to write episodes when you know what's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? How many times did they end up keep getting in jail and getting out of jail and then going in jail? Like, it's pretty brilliant to be able to, put out that many seasons with the same kind of concept.
The first season will always be the best. But it was kind of funny. It's kind of like, hey, let's break out of prison. They're like, okay, season 2, hey, we're running away. Don't get caught. 3, we're now in prison in Mexico. It's like, oh, damn. 4, now we're helping the FBI. So, I don't know. It was, I still watched every single episode. They had like the Final Break movie.
They had a movie?
Yeah, dude. And they came out with another series. Like 6 or 7 years later or something, they had one more season.
Yeah, according to this, there was 5 seasons total, and it ran from 2005 to 2017. So if you're able to have 5 seasons in 12 years, you did some pretty cool stuff. Season 1, obviously, was season 1. Season 2 focused on the manhunt for the prison escapees. 3, Michael breaks out of a Panamanian jail, however you say that, tomato, tomato. 4 was unravels the criminal conspiracy that imprisoned Lincoln. And then they had to get old Michael out of prison in Yemen.
Yes.
Michael.
The crazy thing is, though, is both those actors, I became like a nerd of the CW shows when they had like Arrow and Flash and all those spinoff ones. I used to watch those religiously, and both those actors end up being villains and then eventually heroes in those shows. Spoiler alert! But yeah, because every time I saw them, I was like, oh snap! I was like, they're gonna bring it up prison again. I was like, look at these two duos, and then they came out with that. I think when they broke out Michael out of Yemen, I was like, I think it was like 6 episodes, and I was like, way to wrap it up. I was like, it was so
It was an interesting show. I didn't watch a ton of them, but I think I watched season 1 because I feel like just about everybody did. And I was still at that stage in my life where I was paying for TV. So I was like, hey, give it a shot. I don't remember the other ones. I definitely don't remember the movie.
How about TV shows? Because you guys are bringing up TV shows I remember, but I never watched. And so like TV shows that were huge, that you heard a lot about that people didn't watch, that I didn't watch. A lot of people watched, but you didn't. And one I would say is Prison Break was one. You guys remember 24?
I was going to say that because it was right before Prison Break. I never
watched 24, but I remember everybody was like doing weekly recaps. And remember Tony Danza had a show, like a little like daytime talk show he had for a while. One of his like segments was, I remember, I don't know why I watched the Tony Danza show, but I did. It was like one of the only few people, along with like half of the Eastern Seaboard, because they're all Italian. But another show I just never watched. It was just a weird premise. Like, what was it? It was like each episode is 60 minutes in a day, and the whole season is 1 24-hour period. Like, so it was like, how do you have the most crazy day where you've got bioterrorism and you've got assassination attempts and you've got corruption within companies, and like 1 hour. Anyway, whatever. Lost,
I never saw that one.
Never watched that one either. Me neither.
No.
But Lost was a show that I did get into back in the day. That was like, that one like changed my life, because after every season and the internet was around, you would go to the internet and people would be talking about, what did this mean? What did that mean? And so it was kind of cool on Monday morning or Friday morning or whatever day the show aired, I can't remember, to come back to work and like read up on all the recaps. And it was kind of fun that way. But
yeah.
Any other shows for you guys?
Man, I didn't see either of those. One thing I wanted to say real quick is, how crazy is it thinking about having to go back, watching a show, whether it's Prison Break, 24, Lost, or whatever, that builds into it, but having to only stop because you watch it the one week and then you have to wait for the next episode. I mean, right now, I've gotten to the point where obviously I don't watch a ton of shows, but if I'm going to watch a show, like, I'm like, how many seasons of it are there? 1? Nope, not watching it. 5? Okay, it must have been all right. Let's go 5. And then binge watch as much as you can. And we started watching the Mr. Beast games or whatever. I'm like, I'm intrigued. I was super, but it was the same thing. We watched it and it was released weekly. And the kids were like, what? Wait, let's watch the next episode. And they were having a hard time being like, you have to wait? Like, and I was like, you know what? Good for him for doing this, because like, I love that shit. And it brought you back, and they always left you with a cliffhanger, and you're like, son of a bitch, this brings me back to my childhood. No wonder why I have so much stress and anxiety.
Go ahead. I think they're going to go back to that at some point. I think that's where you'll see, if TV shows exist in the sense of they're a series and it's a production that's broken up into 6, 8, 10, 12, 24 shows. I think you're going to see shows do more of that. And you kind of seen it a little bit where they're, instead of releasing all of them at once, like Netflix did 10 years ago or so or more, you'll see them do it at least, here's 6 and the next 6 will come out in another 8 weeks, or here's 3 and 3 and 3, I think that's what you're going to see a lot more of. So you're getting more of that anticipation and talk and build up and et cetera.
Yeah, I wonder though if some do that and then it fails miserably, if they'll just go back to releasing them all, because let's be honest, with social media and the way that things are, as we all know, we all create content, but short form content is what everybody wants. Like people don't have the attention span to be able to do that. So I wonder if they're like, all right, we'll do 6, and then the next one's going to be released in a couple of weeks, and then they're just like, hell with it. I don't care. I'm over. I'm not going to wait. I'll just jump to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, But when we were growing up, there wasn't always jump to the next one, jump to the next one, like these damn kids. Not only stay out of our fridges, they have it made.
They do have it made. And Lost was one show too that I never did watch, but I heard enough about it that I think I would know, but I never got to experience, the episode to episode on it. But The Office was one that I got into late, and I binge watched that one probably like 4 times over in like a year span. I don't know what it was. And people either truly hate that series or they truly love it. And I fell in the category of absolutely loving it. But
what's wild about The Office is that I think I got into The Office like because of a cousin of mine was so obsessed with it when it aired. By about season 3 or 4, I was really into it. And I rewatched it, to your point, when it came out on Netflix. I mean, we're talking 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, I probably have rewatched that show at least 10 times. But I don't know if you're alluding to this at all or not, but I always assumed that show would have such long-lasting impact, like Seinfeld, like other shows, other comedy shows in the past. But I think there's this feel that the younger generation, even just a slightly younger than born in the mid to late 80s like us, don't get it. They kind of jumped to the Parks and Rec kind of show. They still have the same feel of like office jokes, inner office stuff. But the point being is like, I don't think it's dated quite as well, especially some of the bullying stuff and things like that. I maybe it'll swing back around, but my point is that there's like an office. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like, we're done with it. We've heard it. We're fed up with it. We don't want to hear any more about it. Like, it's become it's become people's personality, right? That's the joke, is that your personality is office jokes. Like, exactly. Like, people not only bought the show, had all the seasons on DVD, but they bought books about it, back behind the scenes looks and things. Like, people wanted to be a part of this show because they just loved it. I don't think it will have the long-lasting impact that other shows do, and have been so surprised at how quickly that's kind of turned in the last 5 to 7, 8 years.
Yeah. And I wonder, don't worry, I didn't pay full price for this because it was expensive. I found this in a bin store for like $1 or something. I was like, this is sweet. Have I read it? Nope, but it's on my bookshelf. Yep. But I wonder too, like you said, I wonder if it's a little bit of it doesn't quite hit home, because I feel like when we were growing up and our parents were growing up, like, you getting a job in an office, in a city, in a cubicle, like, that was a big deal. You know what I mean? Maybe you just didn't have a college education. Maybe you went to college. The goal was to get that office, to get that corner office, to get an office with a view and all that stuff. And I have to imagine a lot of kids these days, that's not what they're dreaming. They're going, you know what? I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to be a professional TikToker. Or, hey, I'm going to be, hopefully they start being, I want to be an electrician and I want to trade, because those are dying art. And so I wonder if that's why maybe it's not quite hitting at home,
Well, and I think it too, it centers around selling paper, and a lot of people can't grasp the concept now. They're just like, what? Why are they selling so much paper? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I actually got into it much later than that, honestly. I think it was maybe 2016, 2017. So, but yeah, and then I rewatched it heavily during COVID. Game of Thrones was probably the last one that I can remember that I had to wait for an episode, and probably the reason why I don't do it anymore, because I was so let down with the ending that I was like, this sucks. So I was like, I'm never waiting for this again. Did not nut. Didn't finish.
You know what show really has kind of come full circle for me, and I think for a lot of people?
Debbie Does Dallas.
Yes. I mean, Debbie Does Dallas and The Devil and Miss Jones. My grandpa had those on, listen, dude, my grandpa had those on Betamax, bro. I didn't watch my first films on VHS or DVD. It was on Betamax. That's how old I am. Okay.
Yes.
So, remote is connected by a wire to the machine, but is a show we all grew up with, that after about 99 kind of fell off a cliff and has stayed around still. But no, The Simpsons. And so, because the Simpsons, and I'm going to try to keep this brief. The Simpsons jokes up until like season 7 or 8 are so good. Now, are they dated? Yes, some of them are dated references. Johnny Carson, like leaving late night 92. Like, kids these days won't understand that, right? But those jokes are so well done, and a lot of them still are funny. My daughter asks to watch the scary Simpsons episodes. All we do is watch Treehouse of Horror now. That's all we watch. It's amazing. But what I'm getting at is, I mean, the belief is that after season 7 or 8, it fell off, right? It sucked. You know, the Simpsons movie came out almost 20 years ago.
What?
Like 2007 it came out, bro. That's almost 20 years ago, bro. Like, that's nuts to think about. So, like the show had already fallen off by that point by about 10 years, and it's still around. I think they're still making episodes.
Yeah. I think we chatted about it. I don't know if it was on this show or one of the other ones, but yeah, it's still around, still making new episodes, and it is now officially, I think, the longest running TV series out there.
So my point being is just that if you go rediscover those first 7, 8 seasons, they still stand up, dude. You will still laugh your ass off. You've seen the show 100 times, that episode 100 times. Go watch them. They're great. So anyway, yeah. Simpsons
here's a list. Let's go over. Did we watch or did we not watch these? This is according again to the Googles. Thank you to the AI overview of the most popular television shows from 2000 to 2010. I feel like that's prime. Are watching some shows, and these are some big ones. So first one up was Survivor. I've seen a couple episodes, but I wasn't like.
I got into one season with Rupert. It was only because of Rupert, and other than that, it was just weird bearded guy. That's why we all liked him. He's just a weird. Anyway.
Yuban, did you watch it?
No.
Did not watch me. ER.
No. I was more of a Scrubs fan. I love Scrubs.
Never watched ER, but there were a couple of times where it was on TV and you'd watch it. You know what I mean?
Next one, Friends. I watched a lot of Friends.
No, hated Friends. It was a stupid show.
Didn't love it, but... No, I was just going to say I didn't love it, but there was somebody that I was with at the time was like obsessed with it, and it was the Fall Asleep show, and it was a DVD set, and it was just always on.
My mom watched it a lot whenever it was actually like coming out as like a new series and stuff, and so I've seen every episode probably 10 times. Like, I can almost quote these damn episodes anymore. So not a huge fan, but it was always on.
What was that show?
Friends.
Obviously,
the next one we already talked about, Simpsons. We loved it. We've seen it. I have a goal in my brain that I want to start watching it again. Like, I want to try to find roughly in my life where I stopped and see if I can try to catch up, which I started doing the math. Okay, it's probably going to be about 20 years, episodes. Nope, don't have that kind of time. By the time I'm like 78, I'll probably catch up on it. So
what I suggest doing is going to IMDb, searching up the episode list, and don't look at the descriptions, but look at what they're rated. And if there's a good rating on them, go back and watch them. I mean, because I'm with you. I'm not going to watch a 6.3 rated episode of Simpsons, but if it's 8.5 or above, I'll watch it.
Hell yeah.
Futurama, better in my opinion. Love Futurama.
I haven't watched Futurama in like 10 years. My wife kind of hates it a little bit. I think I'm going to rewatch Futurama. It's such a great show.
I love Futurama.
Bender is the man.
Zoidberg. Love me some Zoidberg, man.
You got a Zoidberg voice?
No. Do I try it every once in a while whenever I'm trying to annoy the kids? Absolutely. If I did it now, would phlegm probably hit the webcam? Yes.
Ooh. Well, we'll save that for the Patreon episode.
That's the OnlyFans, baby. That's almost like spitting in the mouth.
Make sure you guys go over to Goots Glutes for all the phlegmy web shots. What's next? American Idol. I remember watching probably one of the first couple seasons when they had the rejects and the real bad ones, and the one dude that became like a star because he was so bad. She bang.
William Hung. Did I use Pepsi points to get iTunes credits to get that song for free? Yes, I did, baby. Still remember that.
So I'll say this: there was a the show was split into two almost. You would watch it when the season would start to see the first few episodes of the idiots who were terrible or were just looking for their 5 seconds of fame, even though they knew they were terrible, because they were going to make fun of them. And that's how you knew it was going to be funny. And then there were the folks who really liked the singing and like, oh, I love Jessica. She's going to be so great. Never got into that shit. But the first few episodes were great. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I watched up until like season 4. Like I remember Kelly Clarkson winning. Chris Daughtry, that was the season I think I was like really invested in. I was like, that dude, I was like, let's have a rocker win. I was like, that's going to be fantastic. And then he got booted out. I think Carrie Underwood won that year. And I was like, she did well, she did well. Kind of hard.
Wasn't there for a little while that the runner-ups were having a more successful career or something like that?
Yes, they were. Now I don't remember what year she was on. Was it 2005? I think she was. Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. The year I actually stopped watching it, not because it was like an actual choice. It was just more of it kind of fizzled out. 2004, the year before. And you remember the black guy, Ruben Studdard?
Yeah.
He had that song, Sorry, 2004. And it was a decent song. I think it made the top 10 in the Billboard. And I just remember thinking then, like, the sad part about this is that this song is going to die. Like, you can't listen to the song in 2006 and be like, sorry for 2004. Like, you can't listen to this song anymore. So, I mean, unlike 99 with Prince, Party Like It's 1999, a little different there. And then that song did fizzle out. His career did. And
didn't he go super religious too with a lot of music?
Maybe.
I feel like, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm not personally a religious guy, but I feel like if you're going to go religious, you're in a very, very small niche that it's really hard to go, well, I guess nowadays it'd be viral, but back then, to climb the charts with a very religious song. Like, I can't think of any religious songs that have ever been on the top of a chart.
So, I mean, because the runner-up was Clay Aiken that year, and I remember, like, neither one of them did very well. And then there was also that, I just remembered his name, and Taylor, I think was his name. He had, like, the salt and pepper hair. He didn't do very well either. And then there was that guy that had the same first and last name. It was like, Philip Phillips, that's what it was. Philip Phillips.
Oh, that poor bastard.
Yeah, he had catchy songs. That was the only. I didn't watch the season, but I just remember him winning, and I'm like,
I wonder if we got to deal with Phillips razors. Philip Phillips here with Philip razors. Stop on over to the 7-Eleven for a quick fill-up.
Just can't believe some of these names. It's as I go by Yuban Whakinov here. I am judging, never mind. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and mute myself for 10 seconds and reflect on just what I just said.
Let's see. Other show, Desperate Housewives. I didn't watch it. Did I maybe try in part of my career to find Desperate Housewives? No. Grey's Anatomy.
I've had to watch it.
I've had to watch a couple.
I remember I was over my brother's house, my half brother's house, and his mom, which is my mom, half brothers. We shared it. One father, one parental unit was our father, but she used to watch Desperate Housewives, and I hated the show. Grey's Anatomy, no, never watched it. Thought it sucked then. Is it still on the air?
It is. So I am married to a nurse, and she is absolutely obsessed with this show and has for the 15, 16 years that it's been running.
Aren't all the original characters gone?
With the exception, I think, of 2 or 3. Yeah. So I'm not as she made me watch a lot of it. She'd be like, hey, sit down, watch this. And I'm like, so I understood what happened. I know the names of a lot of these characters. And I remember some big significant moments and just her just being like, I'm like, they're dead. And I was like, that's good. And I was like, is this show finally over? And she's like, no, it's on season like 32. And I'm like, what is up with this? This is insane. But yeah, I can't lie. There are some moments in it that I was like there was like this plane crash, and I'm like, and people just started dying left and right. And I'm like, oh snap, they're not afraid. Kind of like Game of Thrones.
Maybe Grey's Anatomy is predicting the future now.
Maybe.
You guys see
maybe
the plane crash where the plane was upside down? Holy
multiple.
shit! And I don't think, and this is me not knowing, I don't think like anybody died, right?
No, they didn't. It was a weird situation. I did bring up a point to a buddy of mine, that whole like same line of like, what is going on? And he explained to me that plane crashes, especially with non-commercial flights and smaller planes, are so common. Like they're a daily occurrence. And to some extent, we're not talking like 80 people died today on flight 75, and most of these are also smaller planes. Most of, I said. But what you're seeing is you're seeing, and I don't want to be that guy, but as a member of the media, you're seeing them kind of play on this and focus on it. Another plane crash, to keep this going on, because it's going to increase clicks and et cetera, et cetera. So,
and people are going to start to fear flying, so they're not going to spend the money on the trips to fly, but then they're just going to spend their money elsewhere. We're all going to spend our money on something. And
then, of course, this is a big conspiracy by Enterprise Car Rental, so.
Oh, yep. That's that, and we'll pick you up. Yep.
I saw multiple point of views from that plane crash, and I'm like, nope. I saw the guy's like dash cam of it, and I think, and of course, there's always the comments with the blue links that always tell you that they're the experts. They're like, oh, it was this wind, whatever, and I'm like clicking on it. I'm like, that's kind of how I watch a lot of my series. You mentioned like Mr. Beast earlier. I got the Cliff Notes version of the TikTok, like just snippets of the season. So like, I know like the contestant this, like did this contestant dirty and everything. And I'm like, oh snap. So I know briefly what happened with it, but that's how I watch a lot of stuff.
Did you guys watch it or no?
Watch what?
The Mr. Beast games? Whether you hate the guy or not, whether he makes good chocolate or Lunchables or whatever he does, like it was pretty well done. I haven't been hooked on a show for a while and like excited to watch it. Like I was glad to get through it because he did some stuff that it was just kind of like, it reminded me of like an old school thing. Like he probably grew up with this where it was like always a twist, a turn, a plot. And then next thing you know, he would just do this and like turn people against them. And, people tried playing nicely. Some people tried being snakes. And it was just to have I think 1,000 people that started and dwindle it all the way down to one was wild. I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to plan to watch it or not, but there was points where he had it, without giving away, let me see, he had points where people could win like at least $1 million, but would have to turn and eliminate a bunch of other people. Like just little stuff like that. And then, these contestants are like, but if I do it, then I won't get the grand prize. And my brain's going, you're going to turn down $1 million? Who gives a shit if they turn against you? You're a millionaire.
And I saw like the clips of them like on the phone just saying, hey, if you give me $10,000, I'll vote for you, and type of stuff. And then just the, I think towards the end, there was like 5 or 6 left and they were agreeing how much they were going to take of the pot. Mm-hmm. And then there was one individual that was like, I've got kids. And I'm like, sir, you do your thing, you know what I mean? But I was a sucker. I don't know if you guys remember the Real World Road Rules
challenges.
Yeah. Dude, I was a slut for those things too, man. I used to watch those That was one that I looked forward to. I think it was like every Wednesday or whatever it was. I was like, I got to see who's going to win. Like, who is Johnny Bananas going to, like, what's he going to do? This villain, is he going to cross somebody again? I don't know. And it's funny because last week we were sitting there looking on all of these apps that we pay for that we never watch, of these streaming services going through. And she's like, did you know the challenge is still on? And I was like, that is still going on. Dude, that's got to be one of the longest running series of all times too. That's got to be season like 50 at this point. It's insane.
And it's hard to see popular shows that are unscripted, I feel like, at this point. Like I like the thing where you got to get in, you got to have a little bit of gamesmanship, you got to kind of manipulate some people. I mean, what's the one where they're all locked in a house?
Flavor of Love.
Yes, they were locked in the house.
By the way, the amount of contestants from Flavor of Love and Rock of Love and those shows, that have done adult films that may or may not be saved on. I mean, anyway,
Imagine if they had
Hoops one of them?
OnlyFans during that show.
Was Hoops one of them though? The winner of Flavor of Love?
I don't know if she was I think she was the winner, and I may or may not follow her on Instagram.
She was
may or may not have an
fun.
OnlyFans.
Okay,
Wait till
we
she
need to
follows
talk
back.
after this. I'm so excited, and I have at least $14.99 on a credit card that I'm willing to hide.
I don't know how much. I've never subscribed to it, so I don't know. But I think she's one of those that are like, subscribe with this amount of money, and I post what I want, so don't complain. Kind of a thing.
I think
So be
Big
careful.
Bush. Honestly, I think her bush is so big that it'll be blamed for 9/11. Like, that's how big I think that bush is.
There's only one way to find out. Wait till she follows you back on Instagram. It's going to be a cool moment in your life. It's going to be one of those moments you'll never forget. What the hell was the one show? That wasn't Flava
Of
Love.
love. Brett Mike.
People love this show. I watched one season because, again, there was a guy with a big beard on it, and I think he won. They do some. They're locked in a house. They got to live together. They do like some challenges and shit, like in the backyard. They set up all these crazy challenges. It's super popular, or at least it was. I don't know if it's still a thing. What the?
There used to be, I think there was a show that I didn't watch, but it was called Big Brother. And
Big Brother, that's the one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was, I always saw like clips of like people crossing each other and stuff, but I never did see it.
Yeah, that's what it was, Big Brother, because I remember when I was working at the hospital, all the cafeteria ladies and stuff would do like a Big Brother pool. They'd randomly throw in, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks or something. Then they would just randomly draw a name, and that's the person they had in Big Brother. So they were always watching and rooting for that one person. I'm like, come on, man, I like to throw some money around. You never got me into this Big Brother pool? But the one year I watched it, and they kept going, I can't believe you aren't Big Brother, as a joke, because the guy had a big beard, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to win. And I think I don't know if he won or whatever, but that's the same thing. You see all these people that, I'm going to play the game fairly. And it's like, cool, you're out week 2. Like, have a little, you got to be a snake, but you got to be sneaky. That's what we got to do. We got to get all the boys from the Beard Laws studio. We'll have an entire house full of film, and somebody can do all these challenges, and we'll see who comes out the winner. But how many of us are there? There's 3. So say there's 8 of us. We'll bring in like the other 2 we'll make it 10. We'll just be random people.
It's almost like our own like fantasy league, which is Big Brother. But another one was Amazing Race. That's another one I didn't get into very much either.
No, I tried to watch one of the seasons recently because Joel Nert, who had been on the show when we were doing interview styles shows, and he's the one that sets a lot of Guinness World Records for stuff in his beard. Really good dude. Him and his friend were on there, and they ended up doing really well. So I was like, I'll check it out, man. Like it's just one of those shows that I was like, no goddamn way I'm doing this. Like, you need me to jog 7 miles through this city to get to the next stop? Like, I mean, if I can't take an Uber or a taxi, nah, I'm not running, or I'm not doing that swimming. And
that's just like that challenge on MTV. I'm always just like judging these guys that I'm like, they're like crying and like climbing up this mountain. I'm like, pussy. I'm like, you guys are weak. I'm like, what? You signed up for this? Come on now, And I'm over there. I'd be like, nope. As soon as they say you have to run a mile, I'm like, this is not worth the $10,000. No, thank you. I'm out.
we started the wife and me are suckers for like shows like Alone, where you have to go out into the wilderness and just survive and stuff like that. But there's this new one called Eviction or Extraction or something like that, where you have all these people, amateur survivalists, but then their family is in this like war room setting. So there's cameras everywhere. They're watching them. And the only way, I think it's called Extracted, the only way that you get out is you have to go to this thing, put in the key card to the person, whether it's your kid, your friend, or whatever, and then hit the button. Then they go and they get extracted. But there's all these different challenges where the family members or friends or whatever that are in there have to win and do these challenges to send you supplies. So they can send you food, they can send you fire starters and all this stuff. And it's these people that were in there, yeah, I'm an amateur survivalist and I can do this. And then it's like 4 hours in, extract me. It's like, come on, you're signing up for the show. And then you get these ones on Alone and all these other ones that are out after like a day. Like, I'm not out here being a survivalist, but I know damn well I could survive at least a couple days, and I'm not signing up for some show.
naked and afraid. That's the one that I always remember. I was like, there's no way that I could do that just because I'd be erect the entire time. I'm just like, hey, you're naked, I'm naked. Like, what's up? I couldn't do it. I'm a slight
Shotgun Big Spoon.
oh, dude, first like, oh, we need to cuddle for warmth, and I'm like, hey. She's like, hey, I didn't think the tent was pitched. And I'm like, it is now. It is now.
Has there ever been somebody that got pregnant while on that show?
There was definitely an episode where two of them banged. Because they were camera people were like, what happened last night? And they're like, nothing. So, and I'm like, yep, that would be me. Because we're like, hey, who's this fat who can't help me? But he's always hard. That's me, baby. They're like, dude, it was -20 last night. How were you able to keep it up? Just a pro at this. Like, there's nothing that can keep this thing down.
They didn't give me a full cavity search, but I was actually able to boof a bottle of Viagra. So every night I've been popping those ones. I saw my favorite NFL stars doing it before big games, so I wanted to make sure I was alive and my blood was pumping out here.
I hope I don't have to become a sponsor of Blue Chew, because this thing works probably in overtime. Like, I know eventually it's probably what's going to kill me. They're like, hey, you have a blood clot and you're always a wrecked dick. And I'm just like, damn, that's what's going to take me out, as it should. But I don't know. Like, that's what's going to be, if they're like, hey man, like, can we pull the plug? And they're like, sir, you just have ED, pull the plug. Like, this is it. Like, no.
And they're like, sir, we cannot, why you pull your own butt plug out?
Yeah, if that's what's going to have to take to keep it erect, I guess I'll take the Blue Chew. Son of a bitch.
Make sure you go over to bluechew.com/Yuban Whakinov. That would be a good fit if you're listening, Blue Chew, which you aren't. But for anybody that is, we appreciate it. I just looked at the clock for the first time. I think we got ourselves an episode. There's no better way than to end it after talking about erections and butt plugs, I feel.
It's 11:11 your time. Make a wish.
Oh. Do you do that? You're an 11:11 guy?
No, more of a 9/11 guy. I already said that twice. It's...
How many times do you play that song, Somebody Better Call 911?
Not often, but you know what's crazy is Lee Greenwood, the guy that sings Proud to Be an American, comes and sings for the 4th of July party at our local country club. So
that's what you get for taking 5th place in American Idol. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I got nothing else. Brandon, Yuban, appreciate you. Anybody that's still listening for whatever reason, we appreciate you. Check out the friends of the show if you want. They're all in the description. We got anything from stuff to help your hemorrhoids, to make your beard good, to, walking around in some fancy boxers that you could potentially accidentally shit. So that's all we got. I got nothing else, you guys. All right. Unlike our peckers, we're going to wrap this up, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.